Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Let's share with you compilation of paraplegic lady, daily life activities. Please do well to enjoy the
The worst
videos.
shoes I've ever tried. I found these shoes with wheels on them at the thrift store and I thought I'd try them out. I think they might be called roller skates and they're pretty popular, but I found them really hard to put on. As you can see here, the weird wheels on the bottom make them really hard to slip on from a seated position. Right off the bat, I think they just look a little goofy on me, and I don't know why they don't glide like other people's rolly shoes. I even tried with just one skate, but that still didn't really work. Overall, I just highly don't recommend these. They don't glide on me like they do others, and I have no idea why. I think I'll just stick to my Vans. What do you guys think? Cats seem to love wheelchairs. They jump on and off my lap as they please. I really think they view me as a mobile lap. And part of me also believes that they know my legs won't move as much to bother them when they are on my lap. Even when I'm not in my wheelchair and there's no lap to sit in, they still sit in my wheelchair all by themselves. What do you guys think? Is this a blessing, a curse, or a little of both?
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday-to-day activities. Finding accessible bathroom or restroom for individual living with spinal cord injury is very important when lodging in an hotel or any other place of an events. Putting into consideration that you be using the toilet or bathroom alone, having to transfer to the toilet seat or seating under the seat available for shower. One is to be very careful in the process of transferring to avoid fall off when you are to transfer independently. The paraplegic lady in this video tell us how she transfer using the bathroom and toilet, and also gave us some review about an accessible bathroom and toilet.
Accessibility doesn't always need to be medical looking, and this bathroom is a great example of that.
With a wide sliding door, most wheelchairs can fit and have plenty of room to maneuver. The toilet area itself also has plenty of grab bars for maneuvering and transfers. There's a full-length mirror and a roll under sink. But now for the star of the show, the shower. This is a hotel bathroom, so I wish my bathroom at home looked like this, but a detachable shower head is pretty much a necessity for me because I can't move my body in and out of the water has to come to me. Again, there's plenty of grab bars in the shower that are strong and sturdy. Not only is the shower beautifully functional for me, it can also flip up so that an able-bodied person can use it and have plenty of room. Accessibility doesn't need to be a sacrifice. You're correct. Being paralyzed does affect how I use the bathroom both ways. But lucky for you, I share way too much info about my disability online, so I'll explain. I use the toilet to go pee just like any other woman, except I use a wipe like this and a catheter. I scoot to the edge of my seat, put both of my feet on the ground, one hand on the toilet seat, one hand on the frame of my wheelchair, and then I just pivot. I keep hand sanitizer and other stuff in this little bag under my chair. I take my clothes off while seated on the toilet seat by shimmying, then I put hand sanitizer on my hands, open up that wipe, obviously use it, use hand sanitizer again, open the catheter, pull it out, and I insert the tip of the catheter into my urethra, just based off muscle memory, and once the flow stops, I put the cap back on and throw it away. Obviously, like anyone else, use toilet paper, put my clothes back on, again, seated, pivot right back onto my wheelchair, close the toilet seat, and
Hello
boom!
friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday-to-day activities. Day in life of a paraplegic lady doing some exercises as paraplegia to help the body to keep fit. It okay to involve in an exercise once your therapist guide you through on particular exercise suitable for you.
When I was first paralyzed, I didn't have any sensation or movement from the waist down. Over time, I regained some small things, and one of those things recently happened to be bridges. If I have someone else pull on my knees, I'm able to push up myself. I can't push up that much, and I have to use my arms on the ground, but it's definitely more than nothing, which is what I started with. And I'm not actually sure why that assistance helps, but it definitely does, because without it, I can't get my butt off the ground at all. The Assistance from the other person doesn't do all the work though, because if I don't do anything, I just slide back, as shown a second ago. Even though some spinal cord injuries aren't capable of recovering at all, it's still so interesting seeing how people are still able to adapt, whether it be with their body or their circumstances. And I'm grateful to have what I do have back. I can't walk, but I can crawl. When I was paralyzed, I was told it was extremely unlikely I would walk again, and so far, that's been true. Sort of. I can't walk on my own, but I can walk with braces. Those early conversations always lacked nuance, because there's so many gray areas in terms of function after spinal cord injury, like crawling. I didn't realize I was able to crawl until maybe a year and a half after I was paralyzed. Lately, I've been challenging myself by trying to lift one arm off the ground while in the quadruped position. It's not perfect, but it's more than nothing, and little things like this are never discussed. Walking is important, obviously, but room should be made in these conversations for gray areas. Gray areas like crawling, kneeling, sports, assistive technology, sensation. There's so much lost, but there's also a lot you still have or can get. This exercise equipment is designed for wheelchair users at Mount Trashmore Park. Even wheelchair users should exercise, and this park makes that accessible to us. They have arm bikes that can be used slowly, quickly, forwards, backwards, and one-handedly. It's surprisingly versatile, as I was kind of struggling doing it one-handed. They also have equipment set lower, like for these overhead presses, which are also adjustable because I only used one of the weight plates instead of 3. They even have equipment designed for wheelchair users with leg function, because many disabled people could use this, although my legs personally are a little too no-worky. And this same park also has a swing that can be used by wheelchair users. It's just really nice seeing inclusive
Hello, friends.
design.
Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community with their visuals and analyze their everyday to-day activities. Day in life of a paraplegic lady as college student and her visit to New York as wheelchair user. Paraplegic lady narrating her daily life activities as wheelchair user in this video.
Day in the life of a paralyzed college student. I'm still waiting on my car to be adapted so I can drive, so currently I'm still passenger princess. I take the elevator up even though it's constantly beeping for some reason. But anyway, I'm an occupational therapy assistant student. We're working on mobilizing the shoulder blade, so I'm just practicing that here. Classes ended around 3, but I stayed behind to study, and we arrived back home around 6. And after that, I just binged TV shows and went to sleep around 12. After sitting down all day at school in my wheelchair, I usually don't go out afterward, including salons. Everything takes me longer than the average able-bodied person, and inaccessibility compounds that. Sometimes it's much easier just to stay at home and be able to count on that stable environment. It shouldn't ever be that way, but sometimes it is, and you just need a break. So I really enjoyed using this at-home mask set from Mira. Today I used the eye mask set with this purple pulsing R3 turbo device. It was such a fun experience, but it also didn't take as long as it would have if I went to a salon. It really woke me up, and it also depuffed my eye. If you'd like the same convenient, at-home, accessible device, check out Amiro's spring sales. Details linked below. Come with me to New York as a wheelchair user. It's a 6-hour drive, so I put a cushion on the car seat. The first bathroom we stopped at wasn't accessible, but the second one was. And unfortunately, it did start pouring, but we ended up making it to New York alright. On arrival, I realized that the wheelchair-accessible Airbnb actually did have a step, but it ended up being okay, and it was really cute. We ate lunch at Joe's Pizza, and then we took the subway. And a part of the subway was actually so steep, it had this sign that said it wasn't wheelchair-accessible, and one of the subway performers was actually a fellow Crip, which was pretty cool. Getting off the subway, I went to the Museum of Sex with my mom, which was really fun. And by then it was already pretty late, so we returned to the Airbnb and I took a shower, which was stepless entry, and I just brought a little shower bench, and then it was just sleepy time. This is a realistic day in the life visiting New York as a wheelchair user. First things first, I hook up my smart drive because the sidewalks here are crooked. If you don't already know, the smart drive just basically makes me go vroom vroom. We had a bit of a rocky start because the closest subway elevator to the hotel was under construction. Since my mom can't walk far, we took a lift to the next nearest elevator. It's wild how many people actually try to edge wheelchair users out of the elevators that they had to put a sign up. Once we're actually in the subway, it's actually pretty fun sometimes because of subway performers like this and people watching. I know people say it's overrated, but we did stop at Joe's Pizza for lunch because my mom really likes it, and it is good. In typical fashion, we did forget a couple things, so we just stopped at the store to pick that up. We also made our way to Chelsea Market, which was kind of confusing to get into the accessible entrance, but it's alright. We got it figured out, sort of. But there was definitely a lot of unique small business stuff there. I know the day recounted like this sounds very chaotic and honestly stressful, and it can be, but it also can be very fun. The uncertainty of New York will never leave you bored. Some might assume I can't open doors, and while some doors are heavier than others, I've never met a door I couldn't open, being given enough time. Some people might be scared to hold doors for wheelchair users, but personally, I'll almost always accept. Most people don't see it as offensive. This is how I can push carts in a wheelchair. A lot of people underestimate what wheelchair users can do, but randomly enough, my supposed inability to push carts was a big reason why I was told I couldn't work in hospitals. But it's actually not that difficult to do at all. I just push with my wheelchair on one hand, and I grab the cart with the other. Sometimes it's others' expectations that limit people, when really the best thing to do is ask someone what they can do.
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday to-day activities. Living life with spinal cord injury can be challenging in taking care of oneself. Being independent and carrying out some daily routine activities can be so stressful and tiring. Watching this paraplegic lady in this video leading us through on how she gets to achieve some task independently can be inspiring for anyone living with spinal cord injury.
When I was paralyzed, simple things like making my bed were really difficult. I can now do it, it's just more annoying, but here's how I can do it. I separate the throw blankets first to fold up, and then I set them aside. I get on the bed next just to organize where those pillows are gonna go, and then grab the comforter. I try to throw the comforter as far outward as possible, but it never actually reaches the end, so I have to get back out and straighten it out. I have to get back in again to do some of those final touches like shoving the comforter in since the bed is against the wall. But huzzah! The bed is finally made, and I won't be doing that again for another 6 months. Get ready with me for Valentine's Day. And of course I hope the vision is obvious. White tank top first, brief intermission. Now for the main course with this cardigan. Clothes tend to fit differently being seated versus standing, so at first it does look a little frumpy. Fear not. These are what I call real people pants because they're not leggings. They even have a little tie that I was sitting on, wheelchair problem. Because the cardigan is oversized, it makes it look frumpy on me being seated, so I'm gonna tuck them in into the pant. Now for the accessories, including shoes, which are sort of accessories since they don't really touch the ground much. I did high keystroke. Ta-da! Happy Valentine's Day! These are the leg braces that help me stand and walk as a paralyzed person. They're called KAFOs, and they basically help me mechanically lock my knee out. Unfortunately, I can't wear my cute shoes with them, so I take them off, and I unlock the brace to slide my leg in. Then I strap myself in with the Velcro and zip the adaptive shoes up around the brace. I need to press on the knee to make sure it's extended enough to activate the lock on the brace, and then I'm able to stand using a walker without crumpling to the floor. I'm able to swing each leg forward and backward using some hip control while the brace keeps my legs extended so I can balance. It's just a form of exercise for me since it's very impractical to use in a functional everyday sense, but there's definitely benefits to being vertical sometimes. If I'm paralyzed, how do I get in and out of my wheelchair? Some people assume I'm unable to do it or I need assistance, which isn't true for me personally. The basics of how I transfer is nearly the same no matter what service you're transferring onto. I angle my wheelchair slightly towards the destination. I scoot towards the edge of my seat, and then I purposely place my hands for more leverage. And then I just push up and aim for my pelvis to get back in my wheelchair or another seat. To be clear, there's nothing wrong with needing help. I just wanted to show how I'm able to do it with my specific disability. This is the story of how I thought my sister had stolen my favorite clothes while I was on my deathbed. I became paralyzed when I was 16 and I had to stay in the hospital for a whole month. Originally, I had internal injuries that required emergency surgeries. But when I was released from the hospital, I couldn't find my favorite bra, underwear, shirt, or leggings. For months, I was convinced that my sister had gone into my room while I was in the hospital to steal these things, and she wouldn't admit it. Until I finally realized that the clothes that had gone missing were likely the clothes that I'd worn the day of my accident. They were cut off at the hospital.
Friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday to-day activities. Manual wheelchair are often limited to only paved environment, but using freewheel can help you navigate through other non-paved environment. In this video let's see how this paraplegic lady navigates through using the freewheel on her manual wheelchair.
Manual wheelchairs are often limited to only paved environments, but this is a freewheel and it clamps onto the footplate to allow the wheelchair user to traverse slightly bumpier or uneven terrain. It lifts up those casters and replaces it with one larger pneumatic wheel. As you can see, once you clamp the freewheel onto the footplate and turn it around, it lifts those small wheels called casters off the ground, and then you're able to steer and push the wheelchair as normal. It's not meant to be a complete solution to going off-road in a wheelchair, but it's a nice intermediary tool. The pneumatic wheel provides a smoother ride, and because you're less likely to get stuck on hazards, it basically eliminates the need for a wheelie. The best part is that it's removable so that you can still maneuver everyday life.
Please kindly click subscribe. Thanks for your support.
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their every day-to-day activities. There are different sport wheelchair for paraplegia or wheelchair users, such as tennis, basketball, racing and so on. Here in this video is day in life of a paraplegia using different sport wheelchair for sport activities.
This is a day in the life of a paraplegic, and I'm going racing today. We stayed over at my boyfriend's parents' house, which has an inaccessible bathroom because it's too narrow, so he scoots me in the doorway with this trick. But once I'm in the bathroom, I'm free to do my thing, including cathing. There's no pedestal sink, so I just have to pull up to the side to get as close as possible. I unfortunately need a lot of single-use plastics because of my disability, so I try to cut down on that by using sustainable toothpaste like I just showed. I have to get out of the bathroom using that same trick, and when it's time to leave, I'm able to use this ramp, thank goodness, because it was raining. Currently, I'm still forced to be passenger princess, and my boyfriend takes the wheelchair to the hatch. We drove an hour and a half to get to road racing because there's no close or adaptive sports, and I like the equipment and training to do it on my own. I sit in a kneeling position with my legs underneath me, which is why you don't see them here. It's still amateur hour for me, so if you have tips, please let me know. But they actually let me borrow the chair while I'm waiting on a girl. This is an everyday manual wheelchair. Because I'm paralyzed, this is what I use to get around day to day. And this is a sports wheelchair, tennis specifically. They're much faster and more agile, used for specific activities, but there's pros and cons to both chairs, as I wouldn't use a sports chair for everyday use. Because the wheels on a sports chair are cambered, it makes the wheelchair too wide to fit through a lot of doorways. There's also no brakes on sports chairs, so it can make transfers a little bit more difficult, and also because of the seat belt, it adds an extra step to the transfer process. I'm also unable to wheelie at all in a sports chair because of that little wheel back there, whereas in my normal everyday chair, I can wheelie to get over obstacles like this. Using different wheelchairs is the same as using different shoes for different activities, which is why I'll keep using my everyday chair. Because a group of boys made provoking comments about my wheelchair on the court today, I wanted to show you how I keep my wheelchair safe while I play tennis. I make sure not to leave my everyday wheelchair on the fence closest to the entrance. I leave it on the farthest fence. I'm an anxious person, so this just gives me peace of mind so that I can focus on what I want to do, not the wheelchair. This is a sports wheelchair, and here's how it's different from an everyday chair. As you can see, you can turn them much faster, and that's partly because of the angle or camber of the wheels. Because this is a tennis chair, the front caster wheels are also very small. There's also that fifth wheel in the back that prevents the wheelchair from tipping backwards. It also comes with a seatbelt and other straps to keep you locked in for safety, as well as making it slightly more responsive. There's also no extras like brakes to keep the weight down and therefore make it faster. However, because it is a tennis chair, it does come with that little bag there to store the balls. That's because I don't really have free hands to hold the balls, and I can hit them, sort of. I'm not that great, but it is fun. A lot of people think that just because you're paralyzed, you can't ride a bike. So I wanted to show how my bike works as someone that is paralyzed. It's a power assist hand bike, so I have to turn the battery on first, and that just makes it easier to push, especially if you're off-road, and also because it is quite a large bike. And then I just strap my legs in and attach the seatbelt. So like I said, it is a hand bike, so that means you hold on to the hand cranks to simultaneously push. There's also a throttle if you need it to. And to steer, you just turn the hand cranks. And then lastly, when you're done, you just turn everything off.
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their every day-to-day activities. Let's see how one can switch from a manual wheelchair to power wheelchair using smart drive device in this
I use
video.
a manual wheelchair, but what if I said I could temporarily turn it into a power chair? This is called a smart drive attachment, and it eliminates the need to push. This is how it works. You switch it on and it attaches to the bottom of the camber tube underneath a manual wheelchair. I've never been able to do it independently, although some people can. Once it's on the camber tube, you attach the cable, and the cable connects the smart drive to the dial, which is how you control the smart drive. So then I squeeze the dial to turn it on, and then if you click the dial forward, it will start pushing for you. And the further you click it forward, the faster it goes, although it wasn't made to actually go fast. So as you can see, I'm not pushing, that's the smart drive. Still, you do need to hold on to the push rooms to steer, or else this might happen. And of course, to slow down, you just click the dial backwards and it starts slowing, or if you click it all the way backwards, it stops. So this little thing is really helpful when you're traveling cities, especially because it was covered through insurance. And when you remove it, it just turns right back into a manual wheelchair. So why do I use a manual wheelchair when I could use a power chair? For the most part, a manual wheelchair allows me to traverse a lot of inaccessible environments, more so than a power chair could. I could go up and down steps, go off-road to some degree, and also fit through slightly narrower doorways because power chairs are usually a little bit wider. You could also maneuver narrow doorways with this trick, as I show. Manual chairs are also much lighter, meaning you don't necessarily need a wheelchair van, which are very expensive. You can just disassemble or reassemble the chair. And lastly, you can get more exercise with a manual chair, but not everyone can use a manual wheelchair. I can, so that's why I do, because there's so many reasons that they do have an advantage, especially in an inaccessible Unfortunately, world. This hotel balcony has an unusual step, so this is how I'm still able to maneuver it in my wheelchair. I pop a wheelie and place my casters on the other side of the ledge. Then I hold onto the push rooms and I push my rear wheels past the step. And then of course, I'm free to people watch from the balcony. And coming back, it's the same process in reverse. Even though I make videos showing how I maneuver things in my wheelchair, I am not an expert. And my failed first attempt videoing how I tried to get over this doorway was a prime example of this. I popped a wheelie to put my casters on the other side of the step and attempted to push up the step, but my wheels just weren't cooperating.
Are you sure you're gonna doorway pull?
Huh?
Doorway pull?
I've tried that, and for some reason it doesn't really work.
Then I thought I wasn't pushing enough, so I tried pushing harder. So my body was moving forward, but my chair wasn't, clearly. Hashtag home. If I only use one arm, what do? Do I just go in circles? The answer is sort of. If I go fast, only pushing with one arm, yes, I will make a circle. But if you go slow, you can kind of go straight, or you can use the one arm and push both wheels like I'm showing here. I can even wheelie with one arm. Of course, another option could be a one-arm drive, which is designed to help you push with only one hand. And it attaches like this push room on the same wheel around that area that I'm showing here. But luckily, I don't need that. Happy wheelies! Are my legs stiff because I'm in a wheelchair? Not exactly. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which usually means that we are overly flexible naturally. So I rarely feel the need to stretch, and my legs will basically do whatever I want them to do. My shoulders, on the other hand, are a different story. When you start using a wheelchair, your upper body is like on overdrive, and your shoulders definitely get very tight, EDS or not, for me anyway. So these are the stretches I commonly do, probably daily. And that was a good question because a lot of wheelchair users actually do struggle with tightness. Is it okay to ask a wheelchair user if they need help? Especially if you see them struggling or falling, I absolutely don't think it is inappropriate or rude to offer help. I think the most important part is to ask before assuming and giving someone help that they don't need, like pushing their wheelchair by the push handles. If someone does agree to receiving help, the next follow-up question should be, how can I help? Just to make sure that you're giving the right kind of help. But if someone does say no, help is not necessary, it is best to listen to them and respect that. As someone that goes to New York a lot, I wanted to talk about the accessibility of their subway. Only about 1 in 4 subway stations in New York are wheelchair accessible, and that's assuming that all of the elevators are actually functioning, which isn't usually the case. This makes it difficult for disabled tourists to navigate the city. And of course, disabled New Yorkers as well. This just means that you have to walk extra or pay to get a lift, which sucks and ends up taking more time.
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday to-day activities. Accessibility is one of the major challenge as a wheelchair user, either in public buildings or when using public transportation. In this video let's see how the paraplegic lady navigate through as wheelchair user. Don't hesitate to ask staff at businesses or transportation hubs for assistance if you need help accessing facilities or boarding vehicles.
This wheelchair accessible Airbnb actually turned out to not be very accessible, so I ended up needing to wheelie and pop off that little step there. The studio itself was actually really cute, so I'm glad I was able to adapt to the unexpected. The wheels of a wheelchair can easily be removed by pressing in the center button and sliding it out. It's useful for navigating through narrow doorways if you have another person to help you, getting into the car by yourself, or having someone else break the chair down to fit into a smaller area like a trunk. But it definitely shouldn't happen on accident and is super functional. This is how I ended up getting carried off a city bus. I'm paralyzed and fully dependent on my wheelchair, so I use the lift on buses to avoid the steps. On this occasion, the lift deployed and got me on the bus fine, but then when it was time for it to fold back under the bus, it stopped working. They tried everything. They tried shaking it, jumping on it, turning the bus on and off, and this went on for at least 30 minutes. We were both just so tired and annoyed at this point, but hey, at least I had good matcha. Finally, everyone just realized that they weren't going to be able to fix the lift, so they proposed just carrying me off. You can't hear well, but this is when I told them where it was safe to grab on my wheelchair and told them to take me down backwards. It went well, and I appreciated it because I'm sure that wasn't part of their job description, and I just wanted to carry about my day. They put me on a replacement bus with a working lift this time, and we were good to go. I needed to be carried off a bus a few weeks ago because the bus lift broke down. Before resorting to this, they tried to fix the lift for 30 minutes, even though no one else was on the bus at the time. A few people seemed confused as to why they waited 30 minutes to carry me off. I trust family and friends to carry me into inaccessible houses, but no one should trust strangers that haven't been trained. As city employees, it would probably be pretty bad for both of us if something went wrong. And overall, safety should probably trump convenience. And of course, legally, I have as much of a right to be on that bus as an able-bodied person. Oh, the horrors. Come with me to New York as a wheelchair user. It's a 6-hour drive, so I put a cushion on the car seat. The first bathroom we stopped at wasn't accessible, but the second one was. And unfortunately, it did start pouring, but we ended up making it to New York alright. On arrival, I realized that the wheelchair accessible Airbnb actually did have a step, but it ended up being okay, and it was really cute. We ate lunch at Joe's Pizza, and then we took the subway. And a part of the subway was actually so steep, it had this sign that said it wasn't wheelchair accessible, and one of the subway performers was actually a fellow Crip, which was pretty cool. Getting off the subway, I went to the Museum of Sex with my mom, which was really fun. And by then it was already pretty late, so we returned to the Airbnb and I took a shower, which was stepless entry, and I just brought a little shower bench, and then it was just sleepy time.
Hello friends. Welcome to Spinal Cord Injury TV. Here on this channel we promote spinal cord injury community, with their visuals, and analyze their everyday to-day activities. Let's get a view about using standing frame as individual living with spinal cord injury.
Even if someone's legs don't work, that doesn't mean they can't stand. This is a standing frame and it allows people like me that are paralyzed to stand for long periods of time. A lot of people ask if sitting in a wheelchair all day hurts, and the answer is yes. There's a whole host of physical benefits of standing, including relieving pain for me personally. This standing frame even comes with a tray so you can do schoolwork or anything else while you're standing. Standing frames don't replace wheelchairs though, seeing as though you can't move once you're standing. But I'm super grateful to have this as an option too. How does it feel to stand as someone that's paralyzed? If you don't stand regularly, you definitely get used to being at a 4-foot level seated, so you feel like a giant.